After the divorce, I completely vanished from Samson's world. No one believed I would truly leave. Everyone was betting on how many days it would take for me to return. Samson didn't even bother to count, chuckling scornfully that it would only take 3 minutes. He claimed Amy was just a useless nobody, unable to earn money, without family support. All it would take was one call, and I would immediately run back like a good little dog. Afterward, Samson called me countless times, but I didn't answer. He began to panic, frantically searching for me everywhere. 3 years later, I took my daughter to a party and coincidentally ran into him. Samson, a man who was once so arrogant, had tears welling up in his eyes at that moment. He grasped me tightly, both agitated and pleading. After the divorce, Samson changed the password to the house door. I still had a few things I hadn't managed to retrieve, so I was forced to arrange a meeting with him. When I arrived, I saw the scene. Inside the private room, a group of friends was placing bets, wagering on how many days it would take for me to come back. Samson took off his wristwatch and tossed it onto the table, his tone contemptuous and certain. 3 days? Less than 3 minutes, more like. Amy is utterly useless. She can't earn money and has no parents. All it takes is one call from me, and she'll instantly come running back like an obedient dog. It won't be long before she begs me to remarry her. Someone burst out laughing, mocking. Someone even dared to bet she wouldn't come back. That's giving Amy too much credit. She simply can't survive without Samson. Everyone clapped and cheered, as excited as if watching a good show. A friend named Farley asked, "Are you really not planning to remarry her? Amy's loved you for so many years. Don't be impulsive." Before Samson could reply, someone else chimed in. "Of course not. Samson never even liked Amy. She just clung to him. She doesn't know how to please others, and her parents died young. Now she still dares to dream of Samson? Even if she kneels and begs, Samson would never remarry her." That person glanced at the girl sitting next to Samson, Joyce, and continued. "The white moonlight is back. What is Amy to him anyway?" The muffled, sarcastic laughter pierced my heart like tiny needles. I clenched my fists, trying to keep calm. After we got married, I once asked Samson about the girl named Joyce. At the time, he just laughed lightly, saying that was the past and only the present mattered. I believed him and didn't ask further. It wasn't until half a year ago, when Joyce returned to the country, that Samson hosted a party to welcome her. That night, he didn't come home. Then came the second night, the third night, and countless nights. In the private room now, everyone chatted excitedly. Samson remained relaxed, laughing casually, occasionally saying a few words, but never once denying anything. Joyce spoke up. Her tone was soft and sweet. "You guys are so mean. How can you talk badly about a girl behind her back? Besides, Amy didn't do anything wrong. She just loved Samson too much." She smiled awkwardly. Her eyes were full of tenderness as she looked at Samson and said, "It's truly a shame that the one he loves is me. I can't believe he waited for me all these years." Samson's gaze met hers, also filled with affection. It turned out that years ago, he only married me because his family liked me. The person he was truly waiting for, everyone knew that in their hearts. My heart instantly plummeted into an abyss. I had long felt that Samson was somewhat cold towards me, but I could never point out any clear fault. My birthdays, wedding anniversaries, he remembered them all and prepared gifts. Every time we argued, he was the one who backed down first. I thought he loved me. I never expected his 5-year marriage to be just an act. All the love was just my own wishful thinking. My heart was utterly shattered. I slowly unclenched my hand, filled with the marks of my grip, and turned to leave. But just as I reached the door, Farley, who had just returned from the restroom, called out, "Amy, why didn't you say you were here? Come in and sit down for a bit." I shook my head, intending to refuse, saying, "It's not convenient." Suddenly, Samson's voice rang out from behind. He stepped out of the private room, hands in his pockets, and approached me. "Why isn't it convenient? Didn't you come here to find me? Why were you planning to leave without saying anything?" Compared to his composure, my face was stained with tears, truly a mess. In love, the person who is loved always has privileges, which is why he could mercilessly hurt me without hesitation. Everyone filed out of the room, their gazes filled with undisguised mockery toward me. Especially Joyce. She looked at me with the arrogant pity of a victor and gently said, "Samson, you just divorced Amy. Don't treat her too badly. She must be very sad about being abandoned. You two should talk things through nicely." Samson smiled, replying in a doting voice, "Okay." Laughter erupted, noisy like a festival. In that instant, I suddenly regretted coming to see Samson today. I wiped my tears, took a deep breath, and spoke in a choked but firm voice. "You changed the house password. I came to get a few remaining items, but now I don't need them and don't want them anymore. Sorry to bother you. Goodbye." Joy stepped forward, lightly linking her arm through mine in a fake show of intimacy. "Samson hasn't finished talking yet. You two were husband and wife after all." "Although he likes me, now that you're here, there are a few things that should be made absolutely clear." "Oh, right. You don't still like Samson, do you?" I didn't fully understand what she was trying to do until I heard her laugh and say, "Now that you're divorced, you can't cling to Samson anymore, you know? I'll get jealous, Amy. You won't ruin our relationship, will you?" A seemingly light sentence, yet filled with sharp knives. Joyce had always been this kind of person, gentle and calculating. I said, "I was the one who married Samson first. You were the one who had no restraint and no boundaries, stealing him away. Now you turn around and tell me not to cling to him? You'd better shut up." Saying that, I pushed her hand away, but Joyce suddenly fell hard onto the floor. I was trembling with anger, shocked she would play the victim. I looked at my hands. I clearly hadn't used much force. Samson's angry roar rang out. "Amy, what are you doing?" He quickly pushed me aside and rushed to help Joyce. I was pushed back several steps. My foot slipped on the staircase, and my whole body tumbled down the stairs in a dizzying crash. My vision blurred with pain, and my entire body was ached. At that moment, Samson was holding Joyce as he came down the stairs. His eyes were cold as ice when he looked at me. "You brought this upon yourself. You don't deserve pity. You resort to all sorts of tricks just to bully Joyce. Now you're trying a sympathy trick? Amy, we're divorced. If you have any shame left, never appear in front of me again." Joyce's eyes were red as she gently interjected, "It's okay, Samson. Amy is probably just angry at me for taking you away." At this, she began to sob. Samson looked at her, clearly heartbroken. His gaze towards me was filled with even more disgust. The surrounding friends also looked displeased. Just a few words from Joyce had easily turned everyone against me. But at that moment, I couldn't focus on anyone. My stomach ached so badly that I felt faint. I struggled, reaching out to grab Samson's pant leg. "Samson, my stomach hurts. Call an ambulance to take me to the hospital." He hesitated briefly, frowning as he asked, "Where does it hurt? Where did you fall?" Joyce immediately cut in, her eyes red. "Samson, my leg hurts so much. My ankle hurts. Wah, Samson, will this affect my dancing?" Immediately, Samson's attention was pulled back to her. He anxiously said, "No, it won't. I'll take you to the hospital right away." I still held tightly to his pant leg, only hoping he would turn back and look at me. But Samson coldly pulled his hand free and carried Joyce away without hesitation. I watched his retreating figure through a blur of tears. "Samson, are you even human? I hate you." Before Joyce returned to the country, there was never any problem between us. When he started not coming home at night, he said he was busy with work at the company. I believed him, and even told him to take care of his health. Until one day, I called him. But the person who answered was a gentle female voice. "Hello, are you Samson's housekeeper? I'm sorry, he drank too much. He's at my place now. Could you bring some hangover soup to pick him up?" Every word was like a knife stabbing my heart. I had never been in a situation like that and didn't know how to react. In my heart, angels and demons argued. One side told me to trust Samson, while the other screamed that he had betrayed me. In the end, I still brought the hangover soup. The door wasn't locked. A gentle push opened it. But the sight inside left me numb. Samson was leaning his head on Joyce's chest, clutching her hand, muttering nonstop, "Joyce, you're back. You're finally back. I've waited for you for so long. I thought I had forgotten you, but when I saw you again, I realized I still love you." Joyce sighed softly. Her eyes were slightly red. "Don't say that, Samson. You're married. We're in the past." Her voice was choked, and Samson was visibly heartbroken. He reached out to wipe her tears, sincerely saying, "It doesn't matter. I can divorce her to marry you. As long as you agree, I'll divorce her immediately." They confessed their feelings to each other, and I became the third party intruding on that beautiful love story. But I never knew Samson still loved Joyce. He clearly said on our wedding day, "The past is over." I was so foolish to trust blindly, led by him for all those years. Opening my eyes, tears streamed down my face. Mom and Dad, I miss you so much. My stomach ached with hunger. I picked up my phone and saw it was 8:15 p.m. I had slept for an entire day, and no one had come to visit or comfort me. Opening my phone, a series of photos and a video from Joyce appeared on the screen. It was all about Samson. In the video, Joyce gently said, "Why don't you go check on Amy? She seems to be hurt too." Samson's smile instantly vanished, his face darkening as if someone owed him money. He irritably fed Joyce a spoonful of porridge and said, "Why bring her up? Bad luck. I regret marrying that malicious woman. Joyce, you are too kind." A dull pain pulsed in my chest. The wound Samson left in me was still raw. I dragged myself out of bed, stumbled through the discharge procedures, and resolutely left the hospital. I opened a new bank account, then called my maternal grandparents. Hearing the news of my divorce, my grandmother burst into tears during the call. She grieved for me and even more for the baby I hadn't even had the chance to welcome. She said, "Come back, child. Come back to your grandparents." I softly replied, "Yes, Grandma." Years ago, my uncle moved to Australia for the convenience of his newborn son, and my grandparents followed him there. They had been living abroad ever since. I quickly packed my bags, bought a plane ticket, and left Chicago without looking back. Before boarding the plane, Samson's face briefly flashed in my mind. I scornfully smiled to myself, thinking those people must be thrilled that I was leaving. At the same time, in the hospital, Samson stood in the empty room, frowning in annoyance. He grabbed the arm of a passing nurse. "Where's the person in bed 23, the one named Amy?" The nurse thought for a moment and replied, "She was discharged. She completed the procedure on the third day. Are you a family member of the patient?" Samson blurted out, "I'm her husband." He realized his slip of the tongue after speaking and was about to explain, but the nurse's next words left him speechless. "If so, then you are completely irresponsible. She was admitted to the hospital pregnant. The fetus couldn't be saved. Throughout her stay, no one came to care for her. She had to handle everything herself, even the miscarriage. She needed rest and recuperation after the miscarriage, yet she was discharged after just 3 days. You should go home and take proper care of her." The nurse walked away, leaving Samson frozen on the spot. Miscarriage? Amy was pregnant? He frantically pulled out his phone and called Amy. "We're sorry, the number you have called is currently unreachable." He called repeatedly, but it was always the same response. Samson was so angry that he slammed his foot down. "Damn it! Pick up the phone!" Unable to make contact, he was lost, frantically running everywhere, searching for Amy. He went to every place Amy frequented, but there was no trace. He contacted all of Amy's friends and old acquaintances, asking if anyone had any news. But everyone shook their heads. No one could reach her. It was as if Amy had vanished from the face of the earth. Farley softly asked, "Amy is fragile. Do you think she might have done something rash?" A panicked thought consumed Samson's mind. He yelled, "Impossible! Amy wouldn't do that." But the more he thought about it, the more he feared. Years ago, when Amy's parents died in an accident, she suffered from depression. This time, it wasn't impossible. Just then, there was a sound at the door of the house. Samson felt a flicker of hope and rushed out. "Amy, Amy, are you back?" But the person at the door was Joyce. His hope shattered, and he disappointedly lowered his head. It's not you." Seeing Samson like this, Joyce gritted her teeth in anger. "Didn't you divorce her? What does it matter to you if she's alive or dead?" Samson didn't reply. He once thought Amy was unimportant, but when she truly disappeared, he began to miss her desperately. 3 years later, I was married in Australia. My husband is kind and thoughtful, and we have an adorable daughter who is about to turn 2. Because his best friend was getting married back home, the 3 of us flew to Chicago. After landing, my husband dropped me and our daughter off at the house, then rushed to shower, eat, and leave for a business meeting. I pretended to be annoyed, hugging my daughter and playfully scolding him. Is work more important than your wife and daughter? You're busy all the time. Have you spent any time with Lisa and me today? Nolan laughed, kissed my forehead, and gently took our daughter from my arms. Wifey, after these 2 days, I'll have all the time in the world for you two. I promise. He is dedicated to his career, but also deeply loves his family. He knows how to balance work and home, and I understood that. I only pretended to sulk because I wanted him to take me on a little tour of Chicago this time. He smiled and said, all right. Be a good girl at home. I might be back late today. Don't wait up." That afternoon was truly boring. I took my daughter out for a walk and stopped by an old restaurant I used to love. Unexpectedly, I ran into Farley there. My daughter started fussing, so I just nodded briefly in greeting and left with her. Behind me, Farley scratched his head, mumbling, "Amy is clearly dead, but I have to call Samson. Samson, I just saw Amy." Samson scoffed. "Stop joking. She died long ago." Farley became frantic. "No, I really saw her. She was carrying a little girl, too." Samson let out a bitter laugh. "If she were alive, why wouldn't she come find me in 3 years? I've been searching for her all this time, without a single clue." He hung up, mocking himself, then took a gulp of wine and continued, "I want to see Amy again, too." The next morning, Nolan, our daughter, and I attended his friend's wedding. We presented our gifts and congratulations, and then my husband was pulled away by the groom to share some experience. I held my daughter and sat in the dressing room with the bride. People came and went constantly. The older women, seeing me struggling with the child, took turns playing with Lisa. Even the bride, after finishing her makeup, came over, smiling. "Lisa is so pretty and so well-behaved. I want a baby girl just like her." I laughed. Lisa looked at the bride with a bewildered expression, then suddenly burst into laughter, babbling a few incomprehensible words. As it got closer to the time for the bride to walk down the aisle, the room became increasingly crowded. Lisa started to get restless. Fearing she would cry, I took her out to the corridor for some air. Just as I stepped into the hallway, someone called my name. Turning my head, I couldn't clearly see who it was amidst the chaotic crowd, so I continued walking. It wasn't until someone grabbed my shoulder that I turned back and met Samson's eyes. He looked much more haggard. His eyes were red and his voice was filled with agitation. "Amy, you're not dead. Why didn't you come back? Where have you been for 3 years?" Then his gaze landed on Lisa in my arms. His hand trembled, squeezing mine tightly, his voice hoarse. "Is this our child?" All the old memories flooded back, both vague and clear. Samson's expression was incredibly complex. Sadness, agitation, shock, and joy. I observed him carefully. Before, Samson was always calm, handling everything between us rationally, as if nothing could throw him into disarray. But now, his eyes were red. He had lost control. I pushed his hand away, maintaining a polite distance, and said, "Long time no see, Samson. I'm married. Please don't cling to me in front of everyone." I stepped back with my daughter. Sensing my distance, Samson's face hardened. He gave a bitter laugh. "Stop pretending, Amy. You left without a word back then, letting everyone search in vain. Wasn't it to take revenge on me? I've been looking for you for 3 years. Are you satisfied? Is this the baby from back then? The nurse said you miscarried, but I didn't believe it. I didn't believe you could be so cruel as to abandon our child. Now that you're back, let's raise the child together. Can we start over?" His gaze toward Lisa was gentle and loving, but when he mentioned the baby I lost that year, my heart ached. I was both surprised and contemptuous of Samson's nerve. He assumed Lisa was his daughter. He thought my leaving the country and cutting off all contact was just to take revenge on him. He still thought I was the Amy of the past, the one who loved him to the point of madness. I looked at him and said coldly and directly, "Are you deaf? I already told you, this child is not yours. I am married. Lisa is my daughter with my husband." "If you're sick, go get treated. Don't stand here talking nonsense." Samson froze for a few seconds. I seized the opportunity, turned, and walked away. But he chased after me, his voice strained. "Impossible! Amy, tell me clearly. Are you really married?" Before I could answer, Nolan approached from behind. He wrapped one arm around my shoulder, shielding my daughter and me, and with the other hand, he pushed Samson away. His whole body exuded coldness, and he said with sharp eyes, "Stay away from my wife and daughter." Samson shoved Nolan's hand away, hotly shouting, "Who are you? What are you trying to do? That's my wife and daughter." I couldn't stand it anymore. I raised my hand and slapped Samson squarely across the face. He seemed mentally deranged, unable to hear anything, only repeating what he wanted to believe. The slap stunned Samson. He turned his face away, his eyes filled with confusion and hurt. You hit me." I shook my tingling hand, ignoring him. After handing Lisa to Nolan, I spoke seriously again. "Samson, I am married. The man beside me is my husband. That baby is our daughter, 1 year and 8 months old. She has nothing to do with you. From now on, please stop talking nonsense and stop bothering my life." After the wedding reception ended, Nolan and I immediately returned home. The atmosphere was dense the entire way. I quietly watched Nolan's expressionless face, intending to speak several times, but not knowing what to say. It wasn't until we got home that he pushed me against the wall behind the door and kissed me wildly. The kiss was rushed and intense, as if trying to drive away whatever was bothering him. I was forced to receive it all, only able to utter broken sounds. I grabbed Nolan's wandering hand, panting as I explained, "There's nothing left between him and me, truly nothing. I can tell you everything." Nolan paused, resting his hands on the wall. He gently loosened his tie, his voice hoarse. No need to say anything. I slept until the next morning. When I woke up, I rubbed my head, fixed my hair, and went downstairs. Just as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw Nolan feeding Lisa solid food. The little one wasn't eating much, spitting out food as she ate, but Nolan was extremely patient, coaxing her while wiping up the spilled food. This scene had appeared many times in my imagination. Back then, I was full of illusions about love and marriage, and I entered Samson's life with complete sincerity. But 3 years ago, that dream shattered. I once thought my life was over, but unexpectedly, I met Nolan. He was my uncle's friend. When I first arrived in Australia, my uncle was too busy, so he asked Nolan to pick me up. That day, I was in a terrible state. On the flight, I dreamt of a little girl with a blurry face, her hair tied in pigtails. The child said, "Mom and Dad don't love each other anymore." "Mom, I'll come find you again next time." When the plane landed, I cried uncontrollably, weeping the entire way. Nolan didn't say anything, just drove and gave directions. Later, he recounted the story to my uncle and grandmother. My uncle saw me constantly silent and sad, and he tried to match Nolan and me. Initially, I had no intention of dating, but my uncle said, "Are you going to live alone for the rest of your life?" Samson was a bad person, but that doesn't mean all men are bad. Amy, listen to your uncle. The wounds caused by a man must be healed by a man. Nolan might be a little older, but he is very caring. Try opening your heart. Don't stay stuck in the past. At this point, my uncle smiled meaningfully. I was dazed, feeling like there was something he hadn't fully said. Like that, half willingly, half forced, I started spending time with Nolan. Then, I was surprised to realize that this quiet man was more suitable for me than anyone. We started dating, got engaged, and then married. On our wedding day, my uncle drank too much, clutching my hand and saying, "Amy, you are too reckless. I only wanted you to escape that emotional pit. I didn't want you to give your whole heart away again." I glanced at Nolan beside me and gave an awkward smile. His eyes were calm, his lips slightly curved. He supported my uncle and said, "Don't worry, Uncle. I promise to treat Amy well." After that day, Samson somehow got hold of my phone number. When I unexpectedly received the call, I wasn't prepared. Recognizing him, I decisively hung up. But a flurry of continuous calls followed. I was forced to answer, irritably asking, "What else do you want?" His voice was pleading. "I don't want anything. I just want to talk to you. Amy, where have you been all these years? I miss you, truly miss you. Since the day you left, I've never been able to forget you. I still live in our old house. I'm trapped in the past. Come back." I frowned. These words sounded so familiar. Thinking back, when Joyce returned years ago, he said the exact same thing to her. It was as if he had copied and pasted the lines. Samson's love was truly cheap. I scoffed coldly. If you're delusional, go see a doctor. It's easy for delusions to turn into psychosis if left untreated. I am very happy now. Please stop bothering me. Have you forgotten everything you said when we divorced? Samson was silent for a few seconds, then asked, "Are you really married? When?" I replied, 2 years ago. He let out a bitter laugh. 2 years. I searched for you everywhere for 3 years, and yet, less than a year later, you forgot about me, built a new family, have a husband and a child, and left me alone to bear everything. How can you be so heartless, Amy? I looked for you for 3 years. Every day was spent in torment, yearning, anxiety, and regret that suffocated me. I was afraid you might do something foolish. When you unexpectedly reappeared, I was happy enough to cry. But you told me you were married. You have a happy family and a child. What about me, Amy? You tell me not to bother you. What am I supposed to do? I was silent for half a minute. Fate truly was mocking him. Years ago, I fell into the abyss, wounds piling up. Climbing back out was a miracle. Now, the very person who pushed me down is at the bottom, bowing his head and begging me to return. I took a deep breath, said nothing, and quietly hung up. Feeling a bit irritated, I sent Nolan a text. "When you're done with work, let's go home." He quickly replied with one word, "Okay." After I hung up, Samson started bombing me with texts and calls. He even chased me all the way to the building where I was staying. Seeing his stubborn figure waiting there, I sighed softly. If Nolan saw him, it wouldn't be good at all. So I proactively texted him, arranging to meet at a nearby coffee shop to clear things up. But when I arrived, the person I met was Joyce. She sat alone at the table. Her face was gloomy. The moment she saw me, she mocked. "Amy, you are truly a ghost that won't leave." Her eyes scanned me from head to toe. Seeing my elegant clothes and dignified demeanor, Joyce let out a cold laugh. "You really are calculating. You lost to me back then, so you faked your death and fled abroad, leaving Samson to miss you for years. I thought you were simple, but I never expected you to be such a good actress." I laughed out of anger. I had struggled desperately to escape Samson back then. Now she dared to sit here and criticize me? I said, "Joyce, I'm married. You don't need to bring your pointless hostility here." Her eyes narrowed, as if calculating something. Then she said coldly, "Who knows if you're really married? You deliberately showed up with that child where Samson would be, drawing attention, pretending to be cold. Did you think I wouldn't see through that? You're intentionally putting on airs, faking nobility. That child, is it really Samson's?" I smirked coldly. Not every man is a treasure. Samson is garbage. I wouldn't even spare him a glance. Just then, a hoarse voice rang out behind me. "Amy." I turned around and saw Samson had arrived. I didn't know when. He was dressed in a neat suit, his hair carefully combed. His entire appearance looked carefully prepared to meet someone important. But his face was pale. His eyes were gloomy, looking quite pitiful at first glance. I was about to speak when Joyce surprisingly grabbed my arm. Her eyes turned red, tears streaming down. "Amy, I beg you, give Samson back to me. He and I have been in love for many years. If it weren't for you, we would have been together long ago. We're engaged. Our wedding is next month, on the 18th. Why did you choose this time to return? I know you hate me, but I have no choice because I'm pregnant." This is the first child between Samson and me. Please, for the sake of the baby, let him go. The entire coffee shop fell silent enough to hear a pin drop. Joyce's choked sobs drew everyone's attention to us. I frowned, not understanding what trick she was playing. Right after, Joyce let out a scream and fell backward as if I had pushed her. The same old trick. But this time, I reacted quickly, grabbing her arm tightly so she couldn't fall. The scream died in midair, and a look of panic flashed across her face. She started struggling, feigning distress. I lost all patience, let go of her arm, and kicked her calf hard, saying, "I told you, garbage like Samson, Whoever wants him can take him. Stop bothering me. Joyce screamed in pain, losing her balance, and sprawled out like a frog on the floor. She curled up, hugging her stomach, looking up at Samson with a miserable expression. "Samson, I'm in pain. It's our baby." Samson took a step forward, but didn't help her up. He stood in front of me, shielding me, and said coldly, "3 years ago, you used this same trick to make Amy and me lose a child. I won't let that happen again. Stop pretending, Joyce. I know you orchestrated everything." Then he turned to me and said, "Let's go." Before I could react, Joyce behind me, wide-eyed, as if unable to believe it. She screamed hysterically, "Samson, you can't treat me like this. I sacrificed everything for you. You can't do this to me." "Samson!" Her voice was full of anguish, silencing the entire coffee shop. I turned my head for one last look. Joyce's face was streaked with tears, no longer the charming and elegant woman she once was. She lay sprawled on the floor, completely losing all dignity. I felt a mix of pity and scorn. Do too many bad things, and sooner or later, you bring consequences upon yourself. The karma from 3 years ago finally came back, hitting Joyce hard. Outside the coffee shop, Samson's hand gently squeezed mine, and he said, "Why didn't you tell me? You were pregnant. If you had told me then, perhaps we wouldn't have divorced. Perhaps we still would have had a chance." That sentence made me laugh out loud. I asked, "A chance for what?" Seeing me laugh, he looked slightly awkward, quietly countering, "I'm the father of the baby. At least I had the right to know." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "You are not worthy to be its father." When I found out I was pregnant, he had already left me. My heart was cold then, and our relationship was in a Cold War phase. The last time we were intimate was the night he got drunk, held me in a daze, and whispered, "Baby, I was wrong. Don't be mad at me anymore. Let's start over, okay?" My heart softened then. I thought, maybe there was still a chance between us. Until that night, I saw a red hickey on Joyce's neck. I realized Samson had only come back to me because he was jealous and had nowhere to vent his emotions. I understood then. In his eyes, I was just a temporary outlet for his anger. That moment was my complete awakening. I decided to divorce him, without hesitation. I just didn't expect to be pregnant. Now I said, it's all in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. 3 years ago, the night I came for the house key, you pushed me down the stairs for Joyce. The child was lost that night. When I fell, the world spun. My head ached, my stomach ached, my legs ached. I held onto your pant leg, begging you to take me to the hospital. But what did you do? You worried about Joyce's ankle, afraid it would affect her dancing. You carried her away, as if I didn't exist. In the end, it was a passerby who called an ambulance for me. Samson's face turned completely white, and he bowed his head. His eyes were panicked, his lips trembling, but he couldn't utter a single word. Finally, he looked up with red eyes and said, "I'm sorry, Amy. I didn't know you were pregnant. I truly didn't know." But those words were too weak, too meaningless. Nothing he said could salvage the life that was lost. Samson understood that, so he fell silent. Looking back, losing that child might have been a good thing. Given the level of delusion he had for Joyce then, even if he knew I was pregnant, he would have only thought I was using the baby to tie him down. A child growing up in such a toxic family could never be happy. I said again, it's all over. It doesn't matter anymore. Samson, you weren't a good enough husband, and you are even less worthy of being a father. My current husband is 1,000 times better than you. If there's nothing else, this is it. From now on, don't bother me again. A hint of reluctance lingered in Samson's eyes, but he no longer had a reason to keep me. He could only stand there, silently watching me turn and walk away. I took a few steps, then stopped. I turned back, my eyes calm as I looked at him. Samson instantly looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. I gave a slight smile, the smile of letting go, and said, "I will never forgive you. Samson, let's never meet again." This was the final goodbye, Samson's last words were carried away by the wind. Amy, I wish you happiness. I got home, and Nolan had also finished work. He was sitting on the rug playing with Lisa. Seeing me walk in, he only looked up once, then lowered his gaze. He didn't say a word, his eyes showing a hint of resentment. Lisa brightened immediately when she saw me, reaching out for Mom to hold her. I walked over, picked up my daughter, and sat down next to him, asking, "What's wrong? Are you mad?" Nolan gently shook his head. "No." He hesitated, then said in a serious tone, "Amy, we are husband and wife. I am your husband. If there's anything, you can tell me everything." It was rare for Nolan to be this serious. I clearly remembered one time was when Lisa did something wrong and he disciplined her. Another time was when I was still recovering after birth, and I secretly checked on the baby late at night without waking him up. I immediately understood he was upset because I had met Samson alone. I quickly handed Lisa to the nanny, then hugged Nolan and said, "Don't be mad, baby. I met him today to make things absolutely clear. I never expected him to be so shameless, clinging to me relentlessly. I didn't tell you because you were busy working. Besides, I could handle that matter myself. It's all done now. He won't appear again." After a few comforting words, Nolan's expression softened. I knew he was concerned about Samson's existence, so I proactively suggested, "Do you want to hear about my past with Samson?" Nolan only knew I had a failed marriage and was deeply hurt, but he never asked for specifics. He is a very thoughtful person. He never actively dug into things I didn't want to talk about. And since coming to Australia, I had intentionally avoided that memory. Later, perhaps because I was living so happily, I truly didn't remember it clearly anymore. I highly cherish my current relationship with Nolan and didn't want the past to create distance or suspicion between us. After hearing everything, Nolan was silent for a very long time. His eyes suddenly flared with anger, and then he cursed. "Shit, that bastard." I chuckled, leaning into his arms. That's right, a genuine bastard. With everything handled back home, Nolan booked flight tickets back to Australia. Before leaving, his friends organized a small farewell gathering for my family. The bride from the wedding, Selena, took my hand, her eyes filled with sympathy. "Are you feeling okay lately? You haven't been too affected, have you?" I was startled, vague. "What? Did something happen?" She suddenly realized her slip of the tongue and withdrew her hand apologetically. I turned to look at Nolan. He merely smiled faintly. "It's nothing serious. If you want to know, you can ask Selena." At this point, I learned that Joyce had spread false rumors about me online. She fabricated a story that I was the homewrecker and portrayed herself as the betrayed original partner, pitiful and sympathetic. The video released was the one from the coffee shop that day, heavily edited and manipulated to construct a narrative that I stole her man. How ridiculous. Nolan gently patted my shoulder and said, "Don't be angry. I've already handled it. Joyce can't cause much trouble." Selena eagerly added, "I've filed a lawsuit against her on your behalf. Don't worry, I have a lot of experience with cases like this. I became famous for one case years ago. This time, I'll do my best to put her behind bars." She made me laugh. My gloomy mood instantly dissipated as I replied, "Then I must rely on the great lawyer, Selena." After discussing the main matter, she switched to gossip. From Selena's account, I learned that Samson truly searched for me for 3 years. He even once thought I had jumped into the river to commit suicide and hired a rescue team to search for my body, just because the last shot from a surveillance camera showed me walking toward the riverbank. Deep affection? It was laughably fake. Who forced me to the point of desperation years ago? When I left, I didn't hide my itinerary or flight information. If he wanted to find me, he could have easily done so. He was just overly confident, believing I couldn't leave him. That's why he never imagined I would truly leave. 2 months later, I received a text from Selena. She won the lawsuit. Joyce was sentenced to 1 month of temporary detention. The moment Joyce stepped into the detention center, I spent money to hire media accounts to spread the incident. I wanted her to taste what it was like to be gossiped about, rumored about, and slandered behind her back. Putting my phone down, I put on my coat, preparing to take my daughter to her morning class. But as soon as I got into the car, I saw Samson's figure again. I don't know how insane he'd gone to follow me all the way abroad, lingering near my house every day. I knew he was trying to salvage things, but there's no such thing as a medicine for regret in this world. What's past should be left in the past. Each person should live for the present and move forward.